have you done this before?
Screaming.
Ask great questions, not the thing that we're talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Not enough boyfriends for that.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
My fingers are my lenses for today.
Woo!
So it actually looks a little creepy.
That sounds like a good song. My finger are my lenses. I don't know, that's all I got, but I like it.
Oh, when you were
Love
doing
it.
that, Nikisha, it was giving Pan's Labyrinth vibes. That's why I think it's creepy.
Oh, you're
Oh, yeah.
exactly right.
Mhm.
Yes. And then it reminds me of Bob's Burgers because everything is Bob's Burgers. And Louise dressed up as Peter Pan's Labyrinth. And it was
Oh.
That's really
the
good.
most excellent thing.
That show really highlights a lot of great puns.
I know that team is working overtime and they give it to
Yeah.
us every time.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Well, welcome everyone. I was going to say knee deep into the year, but we're not. It's only February.
Oh my God, don't say that. No,
As I
it's been 300, like January was 365 days.
It
Yeah.
was.
I tell my clients that January was a long year, and it kills every
Yes.
time.
I love that. But I mean, that's facts on facts because it's felt like forever and a day. But we're here
Mhm.
now in February, the season of love, if you still believe in it and aren't,
Whoa.
right. I'm highlighting my own issues over
boy.
here. But with that said, today we are talking about the 2024 romantic comedy horror, Your Monster.
I liked it.
Are you crying?
No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
I know I'm crying.
I mean, I'm obviously not crying. Are you fucking blind? My eyes are dry, and you're crying. And the movie was just fine, okay?
You love musicals.
No, I don't. But
Yes,
stop.
you do.
This is some bullshit. I don't want to feel this way.
Rawr.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Gorgeous.
Charming rawr.
So charming. I cannot wait to talk about this. And I
Mhm.
wish I would have seen this when we did our 2024 list. I hate
Mm.
that I didn't get a chance to see it then, but I'm glad that we're talking about it now. So
Mhm.
this movie was written and directed by Caroline Lindy, which totally tracks that this was written and directed by a woman. Love to see it.
Oh, big
And
time.
it's with what I didn't know, it's based off of her 2019 short film of the same name. We'll get into that as well. It stars
And
Melissa
loosely based
Barrera.
on her life, her real life.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Did y'all see the short, or is the short available to watch anywhere?
I think you can watch it on YouTube, but I did not watch it. Did you watch it, Jamie?
Okay.
No, but I forget who now. I knew who was playing the Melissa Barrera character, but now I can't remember.
Ew. Well, while she's looking that up, it stars Melissa Barrera. Love her. We stand for her. Tommy Dewey, Edmund Donovan, Kayla Foster, and Megan Faye. So heavy spoilers for Your Monster. It's also streaming right now on Max. So if you
Yes.
haven't watched it, I highly suggest you press pause,
What are
go
you
watch it,
doing?
and then come back. Yes. Jamie,
Oh,
did
it
you
was
find?
It was Kimiko Glenn who
Who's
played
that?
Laura.
Oh.
She was in Waitress?
She was in the original cast of Waitress. She played Dawn in the original cast of Waitress, but you probably know her from
Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black.
Mhm.
Oh, I never watched Orange is the New Black. Ooh. but I do know Waitress, so
She
there's
also was
that
Penny
thing.
Parker, or yeah, she's Penny Parker in Into the Spider-Verse,
Oh,
which
that's
is one
right.
of my main characters that I play in Marvel Rivals. So
Yes.
just, bringing it
Love
full
that.
circle.
Throwing that out there. Wait, is
Mm-hmm.
that something? I'm gonna sound so ignorant right now. Is that something that you can Twitch? You playing that game? Is that not a thing?
You can. I only did once because these aren't really games that I'm like good at. These are games
Oh,
that
okay.
these are the games that I want to decompress to when the world stresses me out.
Oh, yeah. I feel that way about Sackboy. Just
Yeah.
go ahead and play it. Have a good
Sure,
old time.
Sackboy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my nickname in high school.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know that joke, Nikisha? We just say that
No.
about like any silly words. We just be like,
Phrase
"Oh,
or
that was my nickname in high school."
Love it.
like,
I'll keep
oh, they
it.
got baggy jeans. Oh, baggy jeans was my nickname in high school. Like anything. We do it for anything.
Yeah,
It's so
anything.
dumb and we love it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna steal that for sure. And people are gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
what the hell, Nikisha? But love it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, heavy spoilers for your monster. And Jamie, please hit us with those trigger warnings.
Yes. Trigger warning for monsters. Scary. Ooh.
Oh no!
Yeah. If you are afraid of monsters in your closet, oof, this might not be the film for you.
Under your bed. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But also for cancer and other like terminal illnesses. Also for cheating in relationships, shitty exes,
Bad
that you are.
musicals.
Not bad musical.
Don't be a hater.
Right.
Don't be a hater. She bodies that song when we hear it. Like,
Oh yes, she does. She does.
Oh,
it's good.
excellent.
She does a great job.
Yes, agree.
I mean, yes, there's some maiming, perhaps murder. Perhaps
Murder, schmurder.
murder in my movie. And some human monster intimacy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. References to sex.
Yes.
What? Face, Brian.
Did you say sex?
Oy.
Get out. Someone mute him.
No.
Gorgeous. Any other triggers, Jamie, before we get into it?
I don't
Falling
think
backstage.
so.
Oh my gosh. By the ghost light, falling in trap doors.
I forgot that was a movie, Ghostlight, that I didn't see, but you all did.
Oh man,
did.
that movie Ghostlight. I will say, the movie Ghostlight starts off very promising and then quickly turns into a garbage fest.
Shout out to Broadwasted for covering that
Yes.
early
Oh
in the
my
pandemic.
God.
One of the
Actually-
few horror musicals.
Yeah,
You
we
did?
did.
Yeah.
We did that. We did Repo. We did Repo for that
We
one,
did.
right?
Paris Hilton.
Repo.
But I think that there is still this. We'll talk about this movie, but I do think that there's a theater horror movie that has yet to be written or made. That's good.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the ethers,
Yeah.
but Lin-Manuel,
But
stay
not
away.
Phantom. like yeah, exactly, totally.
Stay away.
Yeah.
But it's out there.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, well, before we talk about everything with this monster, producer Brian, please give us some words.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Hi, YouTube. If you're listening to us and with your ears, find us on YouTube. If you're listening to us with your eyes, then that's fine too. You don't have to. You can just stick with what you're doing. But we're on all those things.
Stick with what you're doing.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. You can follow us wherever you are on social media. That's actually not true anymore either. I'm a big fat liar today.
Brian's lying.
At Talk Horror Pod on TikTok, on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky, but I don't post there. But yeah, on those two things, go for it. Follow us. We're covering other stuff, suggestions, all kinds of stuff. So follow us there at Talk Horror Pod. We would really appreciate it. We're getting closer to 20K on TikTok, so that would be cool.
Yay!
Yeah, we'll hit 20K and then the app will be banned.
Yeah, 20K,
Oh,
it goes
God.
away.
Oh, geez. Well, until then, we're still here, available, like producer Brian said, on podcasts and such, and the YouTubes. So you can see Jamie with all these different filters that are happening as Brian is talking.
I aim to
Exactly.
entertain.
Yeah. Speaking of entertainment, have you guys watched anything this week?
Just the Oscar
Dune
movies.
2, Return of the Dunes.
Dune 2, Return of the Dunes.
Okay, how was that?
It was really good.
It was good. Yeah.
Those
We had to
Dunes
watch a
returned.
recap, but it
Yeah.
was good.
We now one of our things that we do is we find the YouTube recaps.
One of our things that we do. We did it twice.
But I don't know. That's a pattern, I guess. Anyway, we did that. It was great, very helpful. And then we watched Anora.
I know.
How was that?
It was great.
It was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've also been watching Severance, which definitely is giving like horror adjacent vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, are you watching Severance, Nikisha?
No, I watched like the first couple of episodes in the first season, and that was it.
So, I was a little bored by season 1, but then as it like kind of builds the world, it just like the back half of season 1 is like really picks up, and season 2 has been excellent. The only reason I say that is like it might be fun to do Severance once it finishes if we consider it horror, and is it horror? That's always a fun conversation that we have, whether we're watching things like The Northman or Squid Game. I like our is this horror conversation.
For sure. Love that.
Yeah.
You guys are here for Your Monster, so we're going to give it to you, but we need a plot summary, and that's going to happen through producer Brian.
Yes.
Good job.
What's the plot?
Good job, producer Brian.
All right. 2 minutes, right?
2 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
2. Not 20, not 30. 2.
I could
I
probably
don't even know why I
use
have
all
those
that.
other recent timers.
I know.
All right. Ready, producer Brian?
I'm ready.
All right. It's not your monster, but it's your monster.
Yes, it's my
Okay.
monster to bear.
Ready, steady, go.
Okay, Laura, as played by Melissa Barrera, and I'll probably just say Melissa Barrera, is a young actress who is diagnosed with cancer. And she has this boyfriend that she is living with and working with on a musical. It's technically his musical, but she helps to write it. Anyway, she gets diagnosed with cancer, and he dumps her while she has cancer. And she and her best friend go back to her childhood home. Her best friend drops her off there. Her best friend is pretty selfish, but also an actress. So she lives at her home when her mom's not there. I forget that's like a weird plot thing. But anyway, she's, and then, oh my God, there's a monster in her closet who's deeply charming. And she's like really depressed. She's sad. She just can't pick herself back up. She was supposed to star in that musical. Anyway, the monster convinces her to go and like audition for the musical, and she does. Long story short, through whatever, she ends up getting the understudy for the role that was supposed to be hers. She's, and her and her monster start building this rapport. There's a Halloween party that they all go to, and she catches the director sleeping with the main star, and then the monster opens a trap door, and the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend falls. Anyway, devastated, whatever. The monster convinces her that what he did was really shitty, breaking up with her like that. And so then they go back and they make love. They have sex in with there, and then anyway, she starts to she gets to like yell at the director and all of that. Then she ends up having sex with the director, but he kicks her out of the show anyway. And she finds out that it's her best friend who's sleeping with the director, not the actress. The actress is like freaking out about it. Well, the actress like loses total respect. Also, the funny thing is like this is like a women's power musical that he wrote. Anyway, she goes on as like as a surprise for opening night. She absolutely is amazing. And then backstage, she and the ex-boyfriend get into a fight, and the monster shows up and kills him. And we're left at the end with Melissa Barrera covered in blood. The monster is not there, and everyone is just like in horror. That's your monster.
And that's the plot.
Yeah, good job, good job.
Your monster, your monster, your
It's
monster.
your monster. She said, "I'm looking at me." Oh, such a great scene. Can't wait to get into it. All right, so let's start off with our first segment, Trick or a Treat, where we let you know off top if the movie was a trick, we hated it, or we don't know how we feel about it, or we loved it, it was a treat.
Trick. Treat.
Jamie, how about you go first?
This film was a treat.
Yes, producer Brian.
Same. I mean, if you listen to our episode of our top 10 movies of 2024, I believe this was on both mine and Jamie's top 10 list. Ranked very highly too. But yeah, a treat.
Yes, and it would have been on my list too if I watched it last year. This was an absolute treat. Loved everything about it. So let's talk about
The perfect
why
Valentine's Day movie, for real though.
It is, yeah. I just can't wait. I can't wait to get into it. Yes, it's a perfect Valentine's Day movie, and it's, about self-love too, which is so beautiful. So let's get into it with likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Ooh. Okay, I am bursting to start. Sorry.
Yeah, you definitely start. You saw it first the most recently, so you definitely get to watch it. Talk about it.
Yes. So first off, Melissa Barrera in her comedy bag is what I need more of all of the time. Like the fact that her comedic timing was just so gorgeous when she's eating all the pies and the cakes and like crying at home, and even when the monster first appears and she's like crying about him being there. I just thought that in such a high stakes circumstance, like the way that she could bring it all together for it to be so comedic but also still very grounded was just super fun to watch from her, because the only things that I've seen from her are like straight up horror, right? So like all the screams and all the stuff like that.
Well, you saw In the Heights, right?
Oh, I did see In the Heights. I put that in the back burner of my mind, but I did see that movie.
Fair. Okay, fair. Totally
yes,
fair.
Yes. In the world of movie musicals, that was kind of low on my list, but I did.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I loved everything about this. I loved the makeup for the monster. I thought that he is just super charming. There was one gripe that I did have about it, but when the end came, it wasn't a gripe anymore. And the gripe was how quick of a turnaround he went from like wanting her gone because he was so aggressive about her leaving to just like enjoying her company. And it was like, oh, well, no, it's because like the monster is her. She is the monster. Like it's her inner whatever. Because at first, when the movie started, I, for some reason, thought that the monster was going to be the boyfriend, and the fact that he like dumped her after she had cancer was just some magical realism thing that happens, and like he turns into an actual monster.
Oh,
and he's,
you thought it was gonna be some like Beauty and the Beast shit.
Yeah, I did. I literally put in my notes, what in the Beauty and the Beast is this? So I thought it was going to be revealed that like the boyfriend was the monster and whatever. But I'm glad that it wasn't. I'm glad that it was mostly just about like her actual inner demons and just how the monster was a representation of a part of herself that she just was hiding for so long and for so many years. Because I also had questions of like, I want to know the backstory of the monster. How long has he been there? Why is he there? Was he assigned to her? Like, is this Monsters Inc? Like, you get assigned a person
Yeah,
to
like
scare?
you want the full monster. Like
I want the backstory.
What's the other one we watched about puberty?
Oh,
Big Mouth.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Also like they get assigned, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
But then you realize like what it is, and you're like, oh, okay. So I don't need all of that.
Yeah. And did you feel like you got enough um information in in the two moments in the end of the movie? One where she ends up actually in his lair and it's all of her stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
two when she has the flashbacks, like every time she did meet the monster.
Yes.
Like, was that enough for
Mm.
you to?
That absolutely, it was enough for me. Like the minute that they were having the argument in the lair, and she was screaming at him like, "I need you to look at me," and she's like, "I am looking at me," because it's her. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is great."
Mm.
And then you go back in your mind. It's one of those movies where I also just want to watch it again, like immediately, just to go back and see all the different things of like what the monster quote unquote did, but what she did, like dropping the boyfriend through the trapdoor at the theater and
Uh-huh.
all this other stuff. But I think I also realized it too after they had sex, and she was more like confident the next day, and it's like, oh, she like came into her power, and like this is the
Yeah.
representation of that.
And I like that they used sex as the like empowerment of them two becoming one. Like I thought that was
Yes,
a really good use of that in general.
absolutely. I agree. Also, a part of me was sad that the monster wasn't actually real because of how charming he was.
Mm-hmm.
This is like
Yeah, fair.
like romance novel,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
monster like smut vibes, honestly.
Smut vibe.
Smut vibes, hashtag smut vibes. Yes, and I was also just so mad that everyone was such a bitch to her. Like the friend, the ex, the nurse. Like, girl. And then
Oh
it was
yeah.
so hilarious when the nurse was like, "You have difficult veins," and she's like, "I have a difficult nurse."
Yes. Oh,
Love
that was such a
that.
good line.
It was so satisfying.
So satisfying. Just because it's like, gosh, she's been through the worst of the worst, and these people
Mm-hmm.
are just like so shitty to her, especially that best friend. Like, I wanted to punch her in the face the minute
the beginning, like not it didn't even
from the
like
beginning.
I didn't even need the like reveal of the how
No.
truly awful she was from the beginning. Like you just know like this is not a friend who reciprocates.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. It's like you pick her up from the hospital to then complain about the hospital, to then leave her and not even like help her do anything. It's one of those friends, it's like you try to talk to them and then they're always just talking about themselves or like bringing everything back to themselves. And it was like from the beginning, from that hospital scene when she picked her up, I'm like, fuck this friend. I need her out of her life immediately. This is crazy. But yes, I also loved the references to the business. That whole scene where she was going to audition and she was talking to the person running the auditions, and he like didn't want to let her in, but then he did, and he just a switch up of like, oh, this business is hell, so I'll help you out because I saw you be good in something, which is so true. It's like people are shitty to you until they know what you have done or have seen you in something, and then they're like super nice to you, and it's like, no, fuck you. I also was laughing at the banter in the holding room, because that's so just like a audition room thing of when people are like loudly talking because they know each other, and or like talking with the director, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, thanks for coming to audition, and it makes you feel like shit because you don't like know the director, and you're like, I'm not gonna get this part.
Jay and I used to play a drinking game like with our coffee and tea. Like
yes.
we would like be in there with our coffee and tea, and like we would drink every time like someone loudly. We had like a bingo card. Like every time someone loudly says, "Oh my god, hi," or when they're talking about what they just did or what their next gig. Like we had like a full list of things that like honestly that rehearsal that audition holding room is one of the reasons why I couldn't do it anymore.
Yes, it's a nightmare, and as much as like self tapes aren't the best, it's nice that you just don't even have to go into a room anymore to experience all of that madness, because it really is madness. I, just wrapping up, would totally see this musical. I thought it was a really fun time. And I think that Melissa like kills, like we talked about, like the last song.
Mm-hmm.
I also just love that whole scene of her trying to get the song out at her audition and then like couldn't and having to start over. Also, girl, they would not let you start over that many times. Sorry, not
No
sorry.
way.
They would say, thanks for coming. I'll have your people call my people, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's over, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, nothing is set in stone unless you sign a contract. So sorry, girl, that role actually isn't yours, even if your boyfriend promised it to you. Like real talk, unless you actually sign something, it's like he can have the right to do whatever he wants with it. It's like, yes, I want you in this role, and yeah, he is a shitty person, but like, girl, sign your contracts. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, but it's so funny because obviously that's so true, but also like she just feels so like green that like that is something that she would like latch herself onto. You know what I mean? Like that
Mm-hmm.
Fair, yeah,
idea, not him per se, but the idea that she's being promised this thing.
yeah,
But that was
absolutely.
also part of his manipulation too.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I loved everything. I loved their connection. The chemistry between the monster and Melissa was beautiful. I loved everything that it represented. I really want to see more from this director, and I need to find the short because I would love to watch that as well. But yeah, I have no notes about this whole thing. I was just cheesing the entire time I was watching this. It was a fun time. Yeah, Jamie, would you like to go?
Sure. I felt very similarly to you, Nikisha. I just found this movie so charming. I thought Melissa Barrera was like the perfect rom-com lead, and just like really was just like in it. Like you said, like all of those like funny bits. First of all, I think one of my biggest likes about this movie is it has several montages and all the montages like really hit. So there's the one that you were talking about of her like crying and eating the cakes and like being like, oh my God, this is disgusting. And like but it's like
Yes.
all in her mouth and like hugging the delivery person and just like all of these things that were just, symbolizing her loneliness and heartbreak and all of that. And then later, when her and the monster like acknowledge each other and are like, I guess we just have to like get along until you find another place to live. And it's like them like kind of playing joke things on each other. And then like over time, it starts to get like a little bit friendlier and like, they're hanging out more. I just thought that this movie is like a really great amount of time for me and like the length of the movie, and I feel like montages are such an excellent way to just like showcase obviously the passing of time, but like I think an effective one like this that you get multiple just like give you exactly what you need to kind of get to the point of the story. And so I feel like those were very effectively used and both just like really charming and just highlighted Melissa Barrera's range.
Mm-hmm.
I like I just really appreciated how this movie like holds so much space for both this like breakup relationship, but also like it's so much about her as an individual and like rediscovering herself and her identity outside of this breakup, especially in the midst of a huge like traumatic health like coming
Exactly.
through from something that like having to go through that experience. Like I personally don't have that experience, so I can't imagine just like having to grapple with going through a diagnosis and then like everything that you have to go through to hopefully have a positive prognosis, and then she
Right.
does, but like she loses so much as a result. And so it's like you're this transformation that she's like going throughout the course of this movie. It's so good, and I like that there's like so much more space in that. Or like I guess like it's equal, it's like not just about the breakup. I just like I'm glad that we didn't spend all that time there, especially because like man, he did that the ex does a great job of being like a smarmy piece of garbage, and like I was like, you're so good at this, I don't want to interact with you any longer, please. Like good screen time. please
Go
please
away.
leave. Yeah. Please go away.
Yes.
But yeah, he was great at being terrible. And very believable. And the monster, like, he really killed it, like literally, figuratively, I don't know, but like he again, like very charming. But it's like you can also see the like I think that because it is a part of her and you get all these scenes of her individually, it's like you can see this like extension of her and the things that not just what he enjoys, but like his like silliness and like, you know, when they are jiving the best with one another, it is like this parallel of like you are one and the same, like two different versions of the same thing. And it's like obviously that's why they get along so nicely.
Yes. Oh, yes, and the scene of them acting
Yes.
together, or like reading the script.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved all of those scenes. And then even if there were things that might not have been believable, which I guess I'm only really made aware of because Brian was yelling at the TV. Well, that's not how any of this would work, which like he totally pulled a me, which I'm fine with. It was really funny. But outside of that, I still was like, yeah, like fucking walk in there and like take back your part and fucking show all of them and like you deserve this. It's just like everything about this really makes you rally behind her. And man, I just like I wasn't expecting to feel any of the things that I felt watching this, like thinking about like a horror adjacent movie, you know, like
Right.
it's definitely more rom-commy, but like I think that it's still absolutely horror, definitely when you think about how this ex treated her. Like so I would even argue that that's like where more of the, you know, the horror umbrella lies. But yeah, I really it really is like such a great like Valentine's-y movie, but also just like again, when you make the connection of like this is just her, it's just a good movie about like self-confidence, building self-esteem, loving yourself. And I think that's why I'm still thinking about it, like even like the several times over, because like it's just so good. It just makes me, it's like a really solid feel good movie once you get past all the like smarmy boyfriend stuff. And then in one of the podcasts that I listened to, which was Too Scary Didn't Watch, it's like a trio of people, and one of them is the horror movie fan, and the other two are afraid of horror movies. And so they covered it because they are friends with the writer director.
Oh.
And so they had like a little bit of insight into things. And she actually does do like, she dresses up like this for Halloween parties. Like they were talking about anecdotes about like different things like that. But also one of the co-hosts of the podcast dated the same guy. So like this guy who's like the douchebag ex, like, you know, dated the writer director and then dumped her after she was recovering from cancer or like a similar type of diagnosis. And then the podcast co-host had dated him after, but like didn't know obviously any of these things. And so like after everything had happened, and then also like interacted at this like same Halloween party, like it's a really good episode. I recommend listening to it just to like get more insight into like the context for what was going on. But yeah, I mean, like, again, shout out to Caroline Lindy for processing her experience in this way, because that means then we get to experience it. And also I can't imagine how great it feels to literally cast your ex as the villain in your movie.
Oh, I know, right?
Like that's better than therapy, honestly. Like
whoa,
that's gotta be better than anything I could ever support. Anyone.
Which is that's so wild. And I mean, of course it's like some years removed from that, you know, but my God. And to just be like be like, I'm your boss, bitch. Like, I love it.
the catharsis of it all.
Love to see it.
But
And what was the
yeah,
name of the
loved.
episode, the podcast again?
Too Scary Didn't Watch.
Too Scary Didn't Watch. Okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely have to.
They
Anything else
do
for
they
likes?
do good podcast episodes. I'm a fan.
Nice
That's in my regular rotation.
work. We gotta like do a collab. Get them on.
Hey, if you're listening.
We'd love to work with you. Thanks. Gorgeous. Any other likes and gripes, Jamie?
No, I think that was it.
Gorgeous. Producer Brian.
Yeah, I think this movie is absolutely spectacular. I think just from like a charming rom-com perspective, it's great. From a horror movie perspective, it's really good. And I think this is an excellent allegory movie. Just like I think it's just presented really well, really cleanly, really nicely. And something that I really like about this movie is that there's a lot of things going on. Meaning like it's dealing with like misogyny, and it's exploring like, you know, depression and grief and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's really only about one thing. It's about like finding, you know, your inner rage, or you're coming to peace with like your inner self. And all of that stuff like feeds into that, but like there's one thing, and that's what allows this movie to kind of drive forward, because her character arc and her journey is absolutely fantastic. And quite frankly, I think the balancing of the complex characters and making them really layered is very clear in this. And I also think that this movie treats, this is what I love the most about it, it treats the viewers with respect. Nothing is over explained. All the pieces are clearly there for you, which makes it a very satisfying experience. Like in any other version of this movie, they like really like M. Night Shyamalan explain that like, no, the whole time
She's the monster.
She's been locking the monster in the closet every time. They just show it, and they make you work for it as an audience member. But so I really appreciated that. Like I really appreciated that.
And to add on to that, Brian, I was waiting for the montage of like her pulling the lever to lower him, and that doesn't happen either. And
Totally.
It's like, we don't need it.
That's a great point. Yeah. I just think that like I just think this works on so many levels. And here's an example of a movie that takes that extra step and like basically frames her as like her rage was so great and all the things that she ends up killing this other person. Like that does, to me, that's the fun of the movie, that it takes that extra step and does that. But to me, it doesn't undercut the message of this movie. It just takes it one step too far in terms of like reality. But in terms of the movie itself, like I just thought that was like awesome, and that's what makes it, that's the kind of what puts the cherry on top, if you will.
Absolutely.
Some things that one of my gripes about this movie, and it's not fair, and I think it's a positive, but in the scene at rehearsal where she yells at the director and kind of like starts to, her ex-boyfriend director, and starts to get like all of the things off of her chest, I found that scene to be very unsatisfying, because I didn't feel as if she really said the things that like we wanted her to say to him, if that makes sense. I just felt like she was scratching the surface of her, like, of what she really, I really wanted to like unleash,
lay it on
like
him.
lay and rip into it, really. And so like that was a little disappointing. However, I found it realistic, because in the moment when you're blacking out because you're so angry, like I feel like that's a moment where she blacks out because like you just don't know what to say. You practice it a million times and you can't remember anything that you've practiced a million times, like in the mirror, in the shower, in your head, you know, out loud, whatever it is. And also, if she got to land him completely there, then you remove all of the drama of the movie. Because if she gets what she wants, if she gets the catharsis during that moment, then the rest of the movie doesn't matter. So like dramaturgically, it makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Like it
For
makes
sure.
sense,
Yeah.
all of that. But in the moment, like she had her opportunity, I just really wanted her to like go all in and lay into him. But that's not a fair gripe. That's an emotionally charged gripe that actually makes more sense narratively and makes the rest of the movie much better. I thought every character's choices in these were justified by the story that was being told, even if you didn't agree with the opinions. I just think that Melissa Barrera was so freaking good in this movie. I just think she is wildly talented, charming, funny. Their chemistry is great. I forget if I said that. Their chemistry is wonderful. I just think this is one of the best, if not the best, like horror rom-com ever.
Mm.
There
Yeah.
aren't a ton of them. I'm not saying that like there are a ton of them, but like
Right.
one, we need more of them.
Yes.
But I think this is, of the ones I can think of in my head, like this is top 3. And I like this better than the other 2 I'm thinking of, but I'll save that for the suggestions.
Suggestions.
Ooh.
Ooh, suspense.
But yeah, I just think this movie is a home run. And the more that I'm separated from my first viewing of it, the more I like it. The more I think about it, the more that this is 100. So a friend of mine asked me for a list of romantic horror movies. And so I broke it down with kind of scary-ish, comedy, and gothic. And like this was one of the first ones I thought of. Like if I were to give a list of one movie, I probably would give this one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean,
it's such a great combination of the two. Like the balance is really good.
The balance of this movie is like truly, it's like MVP is the balance and the tone, and I just think this movie is fantastic.
Yeah, same. Gorgeous. Any other lasting thoughts on this?
And I love that she loved musicals. Oh, the one thing I want to say about them, you kind of alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, Nikisha. What I think is amazing about this movie is even though there is a musical in it, it's not a musical.
Yes.
But it has the structure of a musical. And I actually think this would make an incredible musical. If you were to remake this movie, I actually think it would be an incredible movie musical.
That's your assignment, Brian.
Yeah, I know, right?
You got to do it.
Work on it.
You got to make it happen.
But I think this is an incredible. I think just structurally, it really plays into that. Even though like it has a lot to do with musicals. I'm just saying.
No, I love that. Yes. And also, I'm adding the monster to my monsters I'd like to fuck list. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Top of the list.
But I will say, it definitely should be written by a female duo. The musical.
Oh, work.
It like
I
like it's directed, written by a woman. That's. I mean, all of the horror movies directed by women that we've talked about over the past like couple of years. I think one of the patterns that I see with that is they just always nail tone across the board, whether it's Twilight, whether it's this, whether it's The Substance, you know, like just they just nailed the consistency of tone, and that is just so important, especially with the wacky things those movies are trying to do.
Absolutely.
Like all the Karen Kusama movies, Jennifer's Body, all that, they just like tone is 100% there. Yeah, so American Psycho, tone all the way through. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Yeah. Also, just bringing up The Substance, like I don't know about y'all, but just as a horror movie fan, it just feels like, oh, my little baby of this horror movie is just getting all the accolades it deserves, and just like as a horror movie fan, it's so satisfying.
It's very satisfying. I want to win though. So here's my prediction. So The Substance aside, here's my crazy prediction for the future. In the next 10 years, I think a horror movie is going to win Best Picture.
I hope so.
Me too. Like that's my prediction.
Yeah. I'm also just so curious. I mean, this is like an aside of the process by which the people judging or nominating for the Academy Awards, like, why did they decide this year, like, to acknowledge this horror movie when there's been so many? Of course, is like always a question of, but it's nice that they are doing this. And so hopefully this is just the start of the train to Best Picture for horror movie. So
we'll see.
Let's go.
Let's go. Great. All right, let's move on to our next segment. Brains.
Yum, yum, yum.
Tasty.
Brains.
So my first question has to deal with the shit boyfriend, which we can all agree is, I think, number one on the list of shitty boyfriends in horror. Like, is he over Micah? I think so.
That's tough. I'd have to rewatch Paranormal Activity to really get into the nitty gritty. But I think that I know
when you bring demons into it, I feel like that's, if you're gaslighting someone around their demon activity, like that's pretty bad.
Like,
I would argue that they're the two worst without any kind of like essay.
Okay.
You could argue that his sex with her in this one wasn't truthful because he held that secret back before they were done. But which is like disgusting. But without any kind of because I would put what Rosemary's Husband on this list very high because of the lies and all of that guy, and he he allows that sexual assault to happen, and he even his excuse. Oh my god, we can't do this right now. Like, his excuse is that sorry, you fell asleep and I still did it. It's like the excuse is the assault. Anyway. The worst. I think that this guy and Mika would be at the top. We'd have to watch and have a shitty person off, but that's what Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got you. You got me. There. Back to brains.
Tasty. Gorgeous. So my question is in regards to the shitty boyfriend behavior in this movie. I want to ask, when you do have a partner and you are wanting to leave, but it might not be the right time, how do you balance being aware of your partner's needs as they're going through whatever they're going through, but also honoring your own needs? And to just throw it out there, I had someone that I knew who was in a relationship with someone and their partner's mother had passed. And even though he had been thinking about breaking up with her for a while now, that happened, and so he decided to stay with her and then eventually broke up with her. And it's like, is that worse? Is that better? What do you think? What's your opinions on just honoring your own needs but also being respectful of your partner?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Great question.
Wow. Have you done this before? Ask great questions, not the thing that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. No. Not enough boyfriends for that.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think that that's a really challenging thing because, having a solid support system is really important during really difficult times. And so if you're the one of the main support people, then it feels like you're potentially putting someone in the lurch during a time where they really need someone. But also I think on the flip side, being really mindful that if you're no longer feeling that connection with someone, what potential harm is going to be perpetuated by maintaining something that isn't genuine or real. And so I feel a conversation is warranted around, potential, I think it depends on where things are at in terms of the relationship, but if there's space to, potentially end the romantic relationship, but say like I'm still here if you need support, like if there's space to do that. Um, Not saying that that's like a perfect ideal plan by any means, but
Right, but
I I think it's like communication is important. Um, I also wonder, like, were there any conversations before this happened that like could set the stage for what's happening in the relationship that isn't working?
mm,
Um, because obviously, like in this, she gets like totally thrown off guard, and like the implication is like she didn't know that that's what was going to happen, and
right.
that it kind of came out of the like. I think that there's not necessarily like a difference, but I think context of like there's a problem in the relationship and then like a trauma happens that changes the relationship dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
or there's a problem in the relationship, um and then I'm trying to think about what I wanted to say, what the second one was, but I think that like, oh, like I guess a shared trauma that you go through then kind of like shapes how the relationship goes. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was like, at least in this context of your monster, he was like, I'm here for you, whatever you need. But then like actively while she's going through it, he's like, actually, this isn't so great. I'm gonna dip. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's what happens versus like, you know, like someone who's already upfront thinking, I don't know if I want to continue this relationship, and then something happens, and then it's like, what do I now do? Does that
Mm-hmm.
make
Right.
sense? I feel like I went
Yeah.
on like a okay.
Yeah, no, it makes
Um,
sense.
but like I feel like either way that there's still like in a more ideal world should be a conversation just around like what's going on. Um, but if it is like the former of like I don't like, some people really don't have the capacity to like be a caregiver in that way when someone is going through something,
Mm,
and that's a really hard conversation to have, especially when it's like, no, I can totally do this, but then watching your partner go through something like really horrible, um, that's a really hard thing to cope with. And like if he, I mean, also he's a smarmy piece of shit, but like if he had other coping skills to like help him deal with that, like I do think that it's really important that caregivers are also taking care of themselves, because again, like it's, you are also experiencing this trauma, um by supporting this person going through it directly, um
mm-hmm.
and like that does impact the relationship. So like you have to make sure that like you are doing what you need in order to maintain yourself so that you can be there if you want to be there for
Right.
that
To show
person.
up. Yeah, for sure. I know it gets so dicey, and it's funny when we were talking about just like sometimes there are things in the relationship that are kind of already there, and then a trauma happens, and so then that's highlighted even more of,
Hmm.
like, and so then it's like, okay, there were signs, and now this trauma really has like put out in the forefront how this person feels.
Yeah.
Or like you said, it can be the other way of like something happens and then people just realize like they don't have the capacity to help, and then dip, which sucks. But
Hmm.
communication is key, and I agree with that 1,000%, Jamie. It's like have the conversation, even if it is hard, and also, let them, if you can, let them know that you'll be there for them, but like
Yeah.
not
I don't think there's
romantically.
like, yeah, there's no like perfect
No.
solution to this situation.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for one, sorry.
It's
Yeah.
the hard way or the hard way.
Hmm.
Like, yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, my last question is about accepting your inner demons. Everyone's like, accept all the skeletons in your closet, all of your monsters, whatever, whatever. So I just wanted to ask, why do you think that's so important to a person's mental health to accept their quote unquote demons, and what are the dangers of not doing so, if any?
Yeah. I mean, I think that like it's important to kind of have awareness around like the things that are going on within you, if that does include like rage and frustration and anger. Um, because like usually there's something trying to tell you something,
Mm,
and like when I feel like when we deny any of our emotions, like we're not really solving anything, we're just kind of putting it into a box, and it's not going away, it's just in the
mm-hmm.
box, and then it comes out of the box in times when like we don't want it to or don't expect it to. So I feel like kind of having a relationship perhaps with your inner demon in a way where you like know the things that set your inner demon off, or like, know the things that also help kind of calm your inner demon down when things are coming up for you, allows you to kind of live with it in a way that serves you more effectively versus like feeling like it is controlling you.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, or at least I'll speak for myself, when I first started therapy, it was one of those like, therapy is going to help me get rid of all these things, as opposed to like, no, it's actually going to help me
Guess what,
cope with it.
friends?
Right.
No. And also, if anybody's ever like, yeah, you can fully get rid of fill in the blank here, like, be skeptical.
Yes, I agree
Be
with
like,
that
huh?
1000%.
What? Tell me how. How are you gonna fundamentally remove this like entire emotion from my human experience? Please
Exactly.
enlighten me.
Exactly. Yes. No, I love that. Fantastic. That's all that I have for brains. Should we rotten to Martin?
Let's rotten
Rotten to
tomato this
molten.
one.
Rotten to Martin.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
It better be high.
1,000,000.
Jamie, why don't you go first?
81.
And Nikisha?
I'm going to shoot for the stars, 91.
Yeah.
So it has a 78% on the, it's still considered fresh, but the popcorn meter, which is the audience score, is 85%.
Yeah, people know what's up.
Right.
And the critics' consensus is a wickedly delightful genre mashup led by Melissa Barrera. Your monster is pleasantly packed with songs, guts, and heart.
Yeah. Yet you gave it a 78. Come on,
Yeah,
guys.
You jerks.
Yeah, little pieces of shit. Okay, what do you think this has on Letterboxd? As a reminder, Letterboxd is 0 through 5.0 with decimal points. So, Nikisha, you go first.
3.7.
And Jamie?
3.5.
It's a 3.5.
Oh, good job.
Yeah.
And the most popular reviews are, need me a big hairy freak that teaches me the importance of self-worth.
Every day, always.
Yep.
The Shape of Water, but for girls who have the enemies to lovers tag bookmarked on AO3.
Yep. Stellar.
That's funny.
And the number one popular review, which spoils my suggestion and maybe everyone else's, is start planning your Lisa Frankenstein and your monster double feature movie nights right now.
Agree 1,000%. And yes,
Yeah.
same as well.
Totally. Great. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Skull, Scare, Shakes, and Suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
The 4 S's are skulls, scare, shakes, and suggestions. Skulls is how well does this handle mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary is it. And shakes, can you shake it off? Is it a one and done? Do you remember it? And these are all 1 through 10, and then we'll do our suggestions after that. But Jamie, why don't you start us off with the numbies?
Sure. I don't know if I like that. For skulls, I gave it an 8. Because I do think that this was like, between processing her breakup and still having these like lingering feelings for her ex, even though he's treating her like crap. All of these things felt pretty realistic. In terms of scares, I gave this a 2. Because I don't think it was particularly scary, but there were things where I was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable that this is happening.
Yes.
So that's where that comes from. And then for shakes, I gave this a 7, because I'm still thinking about this movie. I think this was one of the best movies that came out of last year. Totally unexpected.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I also think like it's a very specific thing. Like I want everyone to watch this movie, but I don't know if I would always recommend this if someone is looking for like a horror movie. Like I feel like it's a unique horror
Right.
movie kind of thing. But I still want everyone to watch it, if that makes
Totally.
sense.
Agreed.
Make
The end.
our monster your monster.
Yeah.
Nikisha?
I had similar 8 for skulls, 2 for scares, but I have a 9 for shakes because it's top for
Damn,
me.
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I had something also similar. I had an 8 for skulls, a 2 for scares, and I did an 8 for shakes. This is just great. This is like truly great.
Yeah, love it.
And then my suggestion was going to be Lisa Frankenstein.
Same, but also I started Warm Bodies, and I feel like that could be in the same field, but also that cast is stacked, and I can't wait to finish watching that movie because I didn't look up anything about it. I just was seeing where it was streaming it. So when I saw it and was pulling up all the credits, I'm like, Nicholas Hoult, will you ever just not be in my life? I'm fine with this. Stay there. This is great.
Yeah, those were both mine because I have seen Warm Bodies, and I do think that that's an appropriate one.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that wraps up our episode of Your Monster. You can find us on the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, at Talk Horror Pod. And producer Brian, where can I listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. So here on YouTube, hi YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank
you.
Ooh, I wish I knew the song from the musical because that was so
Oh, are you going to put that in your book?
Right. I just remember she said, "Hello, nice to meet you." That's it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's good.
Wait, what's her line in the closet? Like are you looking at me? What is it?
Oh, he was like, look at me, and she's like, I am looking at me.
Yeah.
Love it. Go watch Your
Really
Monster
good.
right now, guys, if you haven't.
Do it.
Do it. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye.